Hello everyone. I would like to share with you one of my latest work entitled Species Suitability and Challenges of Mud Crab Farming, an alternative sustainable livelihood approach in Sundarban, West Bengal, India. The Sundarbans, the name derived from the abundance of local Sundari tree, is a mangrove-dominated deltaic ecosystem formed at the confluence of the Gangas, Brahmaputra and Meghna rivers that originate from the Himalayan mountains in the north and readily transcend into the Bay of Bengal in the south. It is the world's largest coastal wetland and UNESCO's World Heritage Center inscribed in 1987 and Ramsar site inscribed in 2019. The Sundarban is divided into three zones, that is, core zone, buffer zone, and national park. It is a remote area and the villagers live in harsh and stressful environment. There is no proper public transport network and the majority of the areas can be accessed only through the waterways. The remoteness and the inaccessibility of most villages are one of the factors for the poor development of the region. Fishing is a major livelihood for the people of Sundarban. The aim of this study is to employ the sustainable livelihood approach to review the potential of mud crab farming as a sustainable livelihood resource in Sundarban, India. We further identified the vulnerability context of local fishers, aspects obstructing sustainable development, so as to recognize the technological refinements that could help to enhance production, profitability, and sustainability of coastal crab culture practices in Sundarban. Sundarban is world's largest coastal wetland with an area with a total area of around 10,000 square kilometer. 40% of the Sundarban forests lie in India and the rest in Bangladesh. The land area, including exposed sandbars, occupies around 70% and water bodies covers around 30%. It is one of the richest biodiversity hotspot zone in the world. In this study, both socioeconomic evaluation and data analysis techniques were used. The profitability analysis and cost-benefit ratio is obtained to evaluate the economic sustainability of this alternative suggested livelihood mechanism. The profitability analysis and the cost-benefit ratio is calculated according to these following two equations given. This study is designed to carry out the survey in 4 locations: Matla, Shaptamukhi, Shagor, and Trimangal. The maximum respondents were male and below 40 years of age. The recognition of species, that is the species identification, was done to find out the most viable, abundant, and dominant species in the area. It was found that the Scylla olivacea, which is commonly known as orange mud crab, was abundant in the region and hence was selected for this study. This table shows the different identification features of the Scylla olivacea and Scylla serrata. The next work was to identify the site weight ratio of the orange mud crab to augment the economic viability. The different weight variants according to the different zones is summarized here in this table. Here we can see that the weight varies with the zones in the Sundarban. The market survey was done to understand and evaluate the deficit and areas of economic losses. It was observed that the maximum villagers were deployed in the wholesale. Many of them were not satisfied with their income and they want an alternative source to increase their income. To overcome the gap and increase the production, we further analyzed the whole process. It was observed that the farmers still use the traditional methods of crab farming. The figure here shows that most of them have their own fisheries. However, they are still employed in other occupations also to increase their income. Here we have calculated the profitability index, dividing the sectors into crab wholesaler, crab rearer, and crab collector separately. This table shows the crab wholesaler profitability index, the male crab and female crab profitability index were calculated differentially. Again, the profitability index of the crab rearers, including the male and female crab, was calculated. And here again, the profitability index of the crab collector is calculated. It is seen from this whole table that the maximum profit is in male crab wholesaling and female crab rearing. Finally, the overall cost benefit ratio is calculated so as to find out the benefit portion of this whole crab culturing process, and it is seen that it is a profitable business. To conclude, we can say that the crab collection and farming is a profitable business. Hence, crab farming can be an alternative option for sustainable livelihood management. The alternative sustainable livelihood options for the villagers in Sundarban will be very helpful because due to natural calamities, sometimes they are unable to go to the ocean to collect fishes. Their agricultural lands and fisheries were washed out due to heavy rainfall. As a result, alternative options will be asset for them, especially for their socio-economic development. This study also explores how livelihood outcomes could be influenced by adopting different livelihood strategies, and that would consequently affect the livelihood assets. Sundarban is a socio-economically backward area of West Bengal, India. Here, most of the people, particularly fishermen communities, live below the poverty line, sustaining mostly on the forest and fishery resources. Semi-intensive crab culture, especially during the lean period of agricultural activity, will be of immense help to them and to boost up their economy. However, lack of professional knowledge of farmers regarding improved crab aquaculture methods, scientific and organized fishing, and sparse marketing network are some of the critical challenges that hinder the production and profitability of crab aquaculture. The study reveals that the mud crab business is highly profitable. One way to bring more profit is by reducing operating costs as much as possible. This can be achieved through scientific, biological, and technological mechanisms, such as reducing mortality loss, transportation cost, labor cost, and other operational costs. Appropriate steps should be taken by the government, private sectors, NGOs, and most importantly, the stakeholders to further the growth potential of crab aquaculture as a viable and sustainable economic option for building resilience and well-being of disadvantaged people in the climate vulnerable peoples of Sundarban. To sum up, we can say that adequately developed crab aquaculture may serve as a promising and prosperous occupation for the earnings and supporting the livelihoods of the coastal communities of Sundarban. Thank you all.